This meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Riska. Can we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Kraske?
Here.
Mrs. Koski?
Present.
Mr. Radke?
Present.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Present.
Mr. Yanes?
Here.
Mrs. Yarko?
Present.
Council, we need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item on our agenda tonight is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I have two interesting, exciting projects that I'd like to highlight this evening. Actually, I'm not going to highlight them. But as you know, annually we report on the Sustainability Commission. And this evening we have the Sustainability Commission Chairman. But before we get to that part, I'd like to introduce our Sustainability Planner, Alexis Weinberg, who would like to kick off the presentation. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vanderpool, City Council, and Mr. Koszewski. 2024 was an exciting year when it comes to sustainability and the progress that the city has achieved. To share some of the work that our Sustainability Commission did in 2024, I have with me tonight the chair of our Sustainability Commission, Nathan Inks.
Thank you, Ms. Weinberg, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to you, City Council, Mr. Vanderpool, Mr. Koszewski, and the rest of City Administration. So 2024 was a very exciting year for the Sustainability Commission. It was the first full calendar year that we were operating under the expanded commission of 9 regular members and 1 ex officio member. As part of that expanded commission, we made very good use of the various committees that we established, and so I'm going to briefly highlight the committees that we have and some of the work that they've done over the past year, and then get into some of the broader tasks that the Sustainability Commission accomplished. The first committee is the Green Energy Committee. Green Energy Committee spent most of the year working on amendments to the zoning ordinance to expressly permit solar panels throughout the city. This is something that we spent a lot of time on, both as a Sustainability Commission and then working back and forth with the Office of Planning and the City Attorney's Office. We ended up recommending adoption of an ordinance at the beginning of this year, and that's actually coming before the Planning Commission this month for its public hearing, and will hopefully be coming to you soon. Next committee is the Reduce, Reuse, and Recycling Committee, which we refer to as R Cubed. This committee handles, kind of like it sounds, all things dealing with reducing, reusing, and recycling. So one of the key things that the committee worked on was figuring out how we could improve the amount of waste that's either being diverted from landfill or that's being recycled as we began the process of onboarding with priority waste and the transition from GFL to priority. In addition to that, the city last year had a fellow from the Catalyst Leadership Circle that was provided to the city who was doing work on food waste and how we can eliminate and reduce food waste both at home and through restaurants throughout the city. That's something that the Office of Planning and the Sustainability Commission is continuing to work on, and hopefully we will have more progress on that this year. Next committee is the Stormwater and Wetland Committee. Two items that this committee worked on was identifying vernal pools throughout the city, and then the second one was analyzing ways that we can reduce impacts from climate change, specifically heavier rainfall events and flooding. Next, we have the Biodiversity Conservation Committee. This committee is focused on ensuring that we are promoting native plants and native trees, both on private property and on public property. One of the main things that this committee did this past year was developed an educational handout that will accompany new street tree plantings. Cheryl Burns, who is also on the Beautification Commission, did an excellent job coming up with materials, and a lot of those materials were used in the little door tags that accompany the trees that were planted this year and will accompany the trees that will be planted in the fall. We have the Michigan Healthy Climate Committee. This was a committee that was intended to work with the state Michigan Healthy Climate Committee that was established as part of the Michigan Healthy Climate Plan. Unfortunately, the state committee was not very responsive to a lot of the communications that the chair of this committee, Mark Graff, tried to reach out to them. And so we ended up putting the committee on inactive status until the point that the state gets a little more responsive to our communication. So it was a little bit unfortunate that the state had developed a plan and we didn't get too much help from them implementing that. So this committee no longer exists, but it was active for part of last year. Then the last committee is the tree committee. We put on an Arbor Day event last year that was very successful over at Dodge Park that involved planting of some trees in Dodge Park. We handed out saplings, and then last year we had done a rain barrel giveaway as well. In addition to the Arbor Day event, one of the other things that the committee spent a lot of time on was assisting the Office of Planning in identifying opportunities for grant funding. And we were happy to receive a $4,000 grant from DTE that went toward the planting of trees in Arlingdale Park. So that was a very beneficial thing for the city, and we were proud to be part of that opportunity to bring in some money to the city for tree planting. So in addition to the committee activity, there are some broader activities that the commission was responsible for last year. One of the most exciting ones was the launch of our tree keeper contract. You may recall back in, I think, 2022 when we did the tree survey, when Davey Tree did our tree survey for trees in the right-of-way and parks. They did a comprehensive tree survey, and all of that data was input into a system called Tree Keeper. We had that data for a year, and then after that, Sustainability Commission worked with Office of Planning and the Purchasing Department to recommend the purchase of the Tree Keeper software so that we could continue that subscription. So now, on an ongoing basis, we have data about all trees in the right-of-way and the non-forested area of the public parks. So they didn't go in, deep into the woods of Dodge Park. They just did the trees that were reasonably close to people. But one of the exciting things about this is now, as we are going through and planting more street trees, DPW can input new trees into this. They've already done most, if not all of that, for the spring plantings this year. So if you got a street tree this year, you should either see it in Tree Keeper in front of your address, or you'll see it soon. It can help with maintenance, so they can put in ticket requests and use that to help track maintenance for tree trimming. And then if a tree is removed for some reason, if it's, if it gets hit by a car or it's diseased and has to be taken down, they can remove it from Tree Keeper so that we now know that there's no longer a tree there, so that when the ground settles in a couple years, that can be one of our locations for priority planting. Next item was our greenhouse gas inventory. This was performed as a lead up to the Climate Action Plan. I'll get to that in just a moment. But the greenhouse gas inventory looked at both community greenhouse gas emissions and then greenhouse gas emissions that the city is responsible for as part of its governmental operations. Sustainability Commission was very active in reviewing the data from the greenhouse gas inventory, working with the Office of Planning and other stakeholders to use that data as a baseline and help us set some of the goals in the Climate Action Plan. And speaking of the Climate Action Plan, that is the next item. Sustainability Commission spent a lot of time last year going through the various details of the Climate Action Plan, including proposed action items. And then early in 2025, that came before the City Council, and City Council ultimately adopted the Climate Action Plan. And now Sustainability Commission and Office of Planning are working on implementation of the plan. And then last item, you may recall that the Sustainability Commission was was created in 2020, so we adopted the Sustainability Plan in 2021. I know it seems like it was just yesterday, but that's already now coming up on 4 years. So last year, we began the process of going through and updating the Sustainability Plan. I decided to hold off on any significant updates until we had the Climate Action Plan adopted and until after the Planning Commission had adopted the master plan. So now that the Climate Action Plan has been adopted and City Council has adopted the master plan, we're going to be going through and seeing what updates we can make to the Sustainability Plan. So those are some of the exciting developments on behalf of the Sustainability Commission. On behalf of the Sustainability Commission, I want to thank City Council and City Administration for all of the support that you give us. We would not be able to do the great work that we do without support from elected officials and staff. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, thank you for having me.
Council, any questions for Mr. Inks? Thank you. Nathan, your great presentation and the Sustainability Commission. I mean, sometimes I think, man, are you guys doing too much? You've got a lot going on, but it seems like you've got it all under control. So we appreciate it, and I know the community does as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vanderpool. Oh, Alexis.
I have one last thing. So Mr. Inks had mentioned last summer we had a fellow that was working with us on reducing food waste. So we're continuing that on. This upcoming Tuesday on July 8th, we are going to be hosting a food waste info session for restaurant owners. We're going to be joined by Make Food Not Waste, Too Good To Go, and a bakery called Give Thanks Bakery. So Make Food Not Waste and Too Good To Go are both organizations that look to reduce food waste, but also can help maximize profits for restaurants. So it's not all about just reducing food waste, it's also about increasing profitability. And then Give Thanks Bakery will be able to share how they are personally reducing their food waste. So this will be on July 8th at 2 to 3. It's going to be hosted online. If you scan the QR code, you can register. And then once you're registered, I will send you the Teams link. So I encourage anybody to come join us. Thank you.
And Mayor, as you duly noted, there is so much going on in the area of sustainability. A couple other initiatives that have been underway that are proven to be very successful. First, our electric vehicle pilot program has proven to be very successful. The feedback has been great. We have about 5 EVs in the organization, different platforms in DPW and police. The EV police pursuit vehicle has received great reviews. So we're going to be expanding that program. We're looking at another 4 to 5 EVs that will be purchased this year as part of our budgeted allocation for vehicle replacement. In addition, finally, our charging stations are moving forward. State Electric, through a partnership with General Motors, is moving forward installing the charging stations that we talked about earlier. In total, there'll be about 30 ports across the city. These will be public charging stations as well, including some at City Hall, right out by the Upton Center, the Community Center, and a number of other locations. So that has finally started. You all participated in a great event tonight at the Community Garden. That too is part of our sustainability program and initiatives. The Community Garden is spectacular. It's really just amazing. Microforests involved in that as well. And so there's so much going on. We're exploring a solar field right here on the city campus behind the court building in that grassy area. Much more to come on that. We have a lot of research that we have to get through, but that's on the radar screen too. So thank you. And Mayor, I just wanted to take a minute to give a shout out to our first responders, especially our Department of Public Works, who has been working under oppressive conditions, to say the least. We have had 28 water main breaks due to pressure surges from the Great Lakes Water Authority. This has been happening all over the metropolitan area due to power outages, sporadic brownouts that have severely impacted the Great Lakes Water Authority, causing these spikes. And when the water pressures drop and then spike up, water lines break. And we've had 28. Now, you can, since June 18th. So last week, during the unbelievable heat wave, and some of that's going to continue starting again later this week, our DPW field has been out repairing those water lines. And to say that they've been working under extreme conditions is an understatement. So I wanted to recognize their amazing work. And also, of course, our fire department with all their heavy gear responding to the various fires we have across the community, our EMS personnel, and certainly our police department out on accidents every day and in the field, on the pavement. It's really extreme conditions, and we appreciate their good work. And Mayor, just lastly, I wanted to highlight again for everyone, of course, it's the holiday weekend's coming up, and there's going to be a lot of use of fireworks, undoubtedly. Of course, we're in this 5-day period now where individuals can use consumer-grade fireworks. They can use them through Saturday, and it ends at 11:45 p.m. So I just wanted to remind everyone, be safe with your fireworks, enjoy them, but it's so important to remember that they must stop at 11:45 p.m. You risk a $1,000 fine if fireworks are used after 11:45. Our police department doesn't like to do that. Everyone enjoys patriotism, but it is incredibly disruptive to children, dogs, veterans, and others after 11:45 p.m. So please take note of that. If you want more information, it's on our website. But again, the use of fireworks will end on Saturday at 11:45. And that concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. The next item on our agenda tonight is a presentation of the Nice Neighborhood Award, and for that, I will introduce our Community Relations Director, Melanie Davis. Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Vanderpool, and Mr. Kozubski. Thanks for this time to share a little bit of information about our next Nice Neighbor Award. The city has a rich tradition and history of giving Nice Neighbor Awards to people, residents who go that extra mile, go above and beyond to make sure that the quality of life here in Sterling Heights is second to none. And the Community Alliance recently did a contest online for Do Something Nice for Your Neighbor Day. I think it was in mid-May. And we had a young gentleman who really stood out from the pack. And we have a couple of Community Alliance commissioners here tonight. We have Cindy Bjornson, who's our immediate past chair. And we also have our current chair, Michael Mazer. And I wanted to invite him up to say a few words about this recipient of the Nice Neighbor Award tonight. So, Michael?
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you again, and thank you all for being here as well. I want to talk to you about Kyle Bailey because we're celebrating him. A few months ago, like Melanie said, we said, what would happen if we had a contest and invited everyone within Sterling Heights to brag about the good things they did? And we really didn't know what response we would get, and we are so thrilled that we got multiple responses. And like Melanie said, we want to honor Kyle today because we were impressed by what we saw. We're impressed because he's a young man, still at Sterling Heights High School. And I know that when I was a Cousin O kid, maybe I'd shovel snow for my parents and my grandma, but I wasn't going out and helping others. So he's done a great job helping his neighbor, I believe his name is Forrest, with things like shoveling the snow and leaves and gardening and gutters and whatever else might happen. I also want to celebrate Kyle because he didn't know about this contest. He didn't know that we would all be here today talking about him. He just did it because it's the right thing to do. It's not one day of just, putting on a performance. It's consistent, putting in the work, exactly what we want from volunteers, exactly what we try to do, something that we really think is praiseworthy. So I don't have much else to say, but we are glad that Kyle's here, and, we need more people like him. I would just say keep up the good work, because good things will happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have the award? Ms. Sarowski does. All right, Ms. Sarowski, the floor is yours.
Okay, so do we do the suggested action first and then speak?
Well, we don't have a vote. You just got to, you
Okay.
can make some comments and then you go
very
down
good.
there and give it to him and
I
we'll
will
all
be
follow
happy
you and
to.
shake his hand and Pat him on the back.
All
He's got to
right.
give a speech.
He's got to give a
And
speech.
you have to come
too.
back up and speak.
And he's
Sorry,
got,
Pat.
and there's somebody on my street, right at the end of the cul-de-sac that needs some gutter cleaning.
He lives at the end of the cul-de-sac, just saying.
But he's only 2 streets over from me, so.
He was busy a couple weeks ago, I thought. Ms. Sarowski.
Thank you so much. So I am very honored to present to Kyle Bailey the Nice Neighbor Award. I read up on everything that Melanie has said about him and Mike Mazur, and he is very exemplary. And it's amazing that you're at such a young age, you are doing such good work, just out of the kindness of your heart. And I really do appreciate that. I know I've mentioned a few times I might have a couple of kids, and all boys, and it is not something that I don't think they would have thought themselves. And so I'm very, Mom and Dad, congratulations to you. You've raised him right, and you've given him a good foundation. As Mr. Mazur said, we do need more people like Kyle. We need people that'll just stand up and help, that don't need accolades. They're not doing it to puff up their chest and be given the honor or the glory that comes with just doing something good. He does it for himself. He does it just to get it done. And that's something that's, I guess it's innate, maybe taught some from the parents a bit, but that's something, and you must have had a pretty easy teach for that kid. So very honored to present this to you, Kyle. And so I'll come down, I'll meet you at the podium. So this says, the City of Sterling Heights Mayor and City Council proudly issue this award to Kyle Bailey in recognition of your efforts to assist your community and contributions in making Sterling Heights' overall quality of life second to none. Congratulations, Kyle. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, here you go. Okay, so we'll stand. Okay. Do you want to say a few words? Can you? Are you brave enough? Okay, thank you, Kyle.
Kyle, stay up. We're going to come down and congratulate you in person, if you don't mind. Come on down, council. We have no motion.
Okay, congratulations again. You're so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Speech has to be 2 pages.
At least minimum, single space. Good job, Kyle. Thank you, man. Congratulations on this, and keep up the good work. Appreciate you.
Congratulations.
It's great work, brother. Thank you.
Are you taking one big?
Congratulations.
I don't know, are we taking one big picture?
Oh, are we?
Yeah, let's, you want a picture? Let's do it.
Mom and Dad, you want to come up? Okay, we're gonna put you next to your kids. Your kid? Come on over here, Maria. Okay, can we all fit in?
Oh, you gotta do that.
Awesome. Congrats again. Yeah, you have a good guy. You're welcome. Take care.
Speech.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kyle. Keep up the good work. All right, with that, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is an ordinance introduction. This is to consider introduction of an ordinance amending Article 6 of Chapter 2 of the City Code to update protocols for the purchase of goods and services and construction of public improvements, with a presentation from our purchasing manager, Eric Skirda. Mr. Skirda.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool, and Mr. Koszewski. I'm pleased to speak with you today regarding the purchasing ordinance and the effects the competitive sealed bid threshold has on our organization and why my office is suggesting the revision. Most people think of spending money when they think of purchasing. However, our main goal is to procure goods and services at the highest value while ethically acting in the city's best financial interest. In order to do that, the purchasing office must maintain efficient processes to achieve that goal. Recent efforts have been effectuated to assist procurement goals. In 2023, a purchasing coordinator position was added to the Office of Purchasing. along with implementation of a comprehensive contract management system. These two significant items have provided for improved processes, but the reason for this presentation tonight is to address the current sealed competitive bidding threshold as defined by the city's purchasing ordinance. Current sealed competitive bid and proposal threshold is set at $10,000. Anything the city wishes to purchase over $10,000 must be competitively procured using sealed invitation to bid, ITB, or request for proposals, RFP process. There are few exemptions to this rule, and the revision of the current purchasing ordinance language will allow for an improved process going forward. As presented on the consent agenda every council meeting, purchasing initiates recommendations for city council review and approval of items where pricing is secured competitively, either by an ITB or an RFP. These formats require sealed pricing submitted through an electronic solicitation network called BidNet. BidNet is the most widely used system in the state of Michigan for municipalities and is highly used across the United States. The current number of registered users under the Michigan Intergovernmental Trade Network MITN category within BidNet accounts for over 30,000 suppliers across all industries. So access to the system allows the city to have a large reach to all types of suppliers. However, this process still limits the number of bids or proposals that the city does receive. By ordinance, the city cannot ask for additional quotes to supplement if they're not received through the competitive sealed process. So outside factors have led to the decline of sealed bids being received, which is why we are here tonight. The advent of online sales is readily available and is the preferential way of doing business for purchases of smaller dollar values. Recent inflation rose 6.2% in 2023 and an additional 4.8% in 2024, significantly impacting both consumer behavior and business operations. Compounding these challenges are persistent labor shortages and ongoing supply chain disruptions, which continue to fall short of meeting current demand. This ultimately affects how purchasing must operate. So expanding the Office of Purchasing's ability to adapt and seek alternative pricing is an important component in gaining the best value for the residents. The purchasing office does have issues sourcing readily available goods and services because of the current requirements contained within the ordinance language. Some examples of those goods include ammunition, paper, water and sewer components. Formal processes to secure these routine goods limit the vendors that will apply to provide them to the city. An increasing number of vendors do not commit to extended term contracts. A typical one-year contract for raw material-based goods does not yield favorable competition, and it diminishes values as vendors must account for unexpected market price fluctuations within their bid. Several vendors do not have the staff or capability to comply with confidential sealed bid submission forms, or if the anticipated award is less than $50,000, their profit margins are too thin to account for the processes that sealed bids require. So vendors do prefer to provide a standardized quote in their format at the time of request. Vendors are also unwilling or unable to hold inventory over the time it takes to prepare and submit a bid. If my office has the ability to seek quotes, it will not only make it more efficient for vendors, they now don't have to hold their liability of their inventory for extended periods of time in order for the formal ITB process to play out. My office can prepare the purchase recommendation within the week and have it ready for the next council meeting. Often, my office can secure quotes within a day or two and can provide information the day that it is requested. The BidNet platform has the functionality to solicit less formal quotes and can be used in unison to leverage its far reach while also allowing my very talented purchasing staff to seek pricing through the internet open market. The solicitation of quotes through all means of communication instead of the formal sealed procedure for purchases under $50,000 still maintains the competitive pricing process and allows for greater efficiency to municipal operations. Here's a chart of the current bid thresholds for some comparable cities and counties. can see, City of Sterling Heights is here. There's not many that are lower than us. Purchases above $5,000 would still require multiple quotes, and all purchases above $10,000 would still require city council approval. If the obtained pricing still seems unfavorable, based on market research, the sealed competitive bidding process still remains an option to see if it will yield better results. Internally, all purchases still require a purchase order that is routed through the Office of Purchasing. Budget and Finance will review prior to approval to ensure that city funds are available and the costs have been evaluated. But authorizing more options to acquire competitive pricing in today's marketplace will ensure a process that is more efficient and will ultimately yield results that the purchasing office is seeking. As inflation has diminished the appeal of lower value contracts and access to suppliers has increased by way of modern communication, an adjustment to the bid threshold provides my office the ability to quickly and efficiently present to council for authorization to purchase goods and services that directly benefit the residents. In summary, purchasing assists with every purchase the city makes and collaborates with every using department. Purchasing is in place to provide checks and balances for all purchases. With over 3,000 P-card transactions and over 1,000 purchase orders created annually, my office does ensure favorable pricing and highest value is achieved. The purchasing office will still continue to develop, evaluate, and recommend the award for all purchases to ensure all using departments have the products and services they need to provide the residents with the exemplary service they have come to know and deserve. I do appreciate your time and consideration this evening, and I am open for any questions that you may have regarding this ordinance modification.
All right, thank you, Mr. Skirda. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? Not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
resolve to introduce the ordinance amending Article 6 of Chapter 2 of the City Code to update protocols for the purchase of goods and services and construction of public improvements. Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mrs. Zarko?
No discussion. I mean, I followed everything. I just have one question, and if Mr. Skirda, through the chair to Mr. Skirda, is when we were, the one thing that hasn't changed is the $10,000 threshold. And I thought that was something that we were trying to change in order to make it easier for the purchasing departments. So I guess, why did you decide not to? And 15 words or less.
I think that's forthcoming.
Okay.
However, this now is a way for us to really leverage the open market right now. So this doesn't dramatically change the way that the approval processes are going. This is just a way for us to really be more efficient in the office right now.
So that change is coming in the future, or I think we talked through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool. Isn't that something that we talked about in strategic planning?
Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Zarko, you're right. We've talked about this quite extensively. It would require a charter change. So any approval of city council above, if we increase the threshold at all above 10,000, that would be a charter change. Now, we do have some housekeeping charter change issues. I mean, that really does need to be updated. It's a very, very low number. But we'd probably package that up with a few other housekeeping items, if you will, in the charter, a 1968 charter. Certainly, there are some, minor changes. So we're probably a couple of years or so away from proposing that.
Okay, I guess then I would think that maybe we could come up with a formula in the charter change so that this doesn't have to be done again as far as inflation or whatever costs, so that, once we have a clause in there so that it can be changed automatically without always having to change the charter. So if that, we could do that.
That's a very good point.
Okay. Nothing further. That was my only question.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Council, anyone else?
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Schmidt.
Just a comment. I'm totally
comfortable with this. You know, this has not been amended since 2009, and boy, has the world changed since 2009, and we all know that. Efficiency is, you know, a game changer around here, so I just wanted to mention that this is long time coming, and I'm glad to be doing it. Nothing further.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Council, anyone else? Mr. Yanis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Skirta, you mentioned the built-in checks and balances. Can you give us an example, either real life or imaginary, of making a purchase and making sure that we're getting the lowest price and the taxpayers are being protected?
Absolutely. So within our BS&A system, we have a very comprehensive approval process for each and every purchase order that gets submitted. So a department has to submit a requisition. That requisition then gets reviewed by the department head. Then after that department head reviews that requisition, it comes straight to me. So I can make sure that I have comparable quotes for anything that's valued over a certain dollar threshold. After I verify that that is the lowest price item that we're purchasing, it then goes to our finance and budget director if it's over a certain dollar threshold, where she will make sure that there is allocated and approved funds by city council before we actually approve the purchase order and submit that to the supplier.
Thank you. That's quite an extensive process, and I do agree that this is really, times have changed drastically in a very short time, and I think the time is now to make this change, so I fully support it. Thank you, Mr. Skirta. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yanis. Mrs. Koski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to Mr. Skirta, you have 50,000 as the top here. Going over the numbers, there's one other city that has the limit at 50,000, one at 35,000, 3 at 30,000, and 13 comparable cities that are below 30,000. Couldn't you live with 30,000 rather than 50,000?
Well, I do think 50,000 is appropriate. We do have to take into consideration the timing of when their limits were increased. What I do know is that they were all not recently increased, that they were previously increased, probably over the past 10 years when doing the research. The most recent one that was increased was the city of Lansing, where their board just approved it, and they did go to 30,000. However, I do believe that 50,000 is the appropriate number based on the research that we've completed through the office.
So what you're saying is the majority of your purchases are less than 50,000 or more than 50,000?
In the backup information, I did supply a chart that showed the sealed invitation to bids that we issued over the last year for the routine purchases that were under $50,000. I did not include the full list of purchases that were over $50,000, but we can see that the items that we are purchasing in this dollar range, the quotes are very accessible, and I can get those back very quickly within that dollar range. Now, also, there's a second factor to this too, where the state of Michigan requires 100% bonding for construction of public improvements for any contract that's $50,000 or more. So having that clear separation will allow my office to have very efficient paperwork in order and have set guidelines for everything that's over 50,000, whereas under 50,000, I would have to modify language, boilerplates, so on and so forth. So this is actually just a number that creates a little bit more efficiency in the process.
So how much time is this going to save you at 50,000 rather than 30,000?
That's a hard number to say off the top of my head, but it would save time on every purchase that's between $30,000 and $50,000. It would save time there.
And this means going out for bids, is what you're saying?
Yes.
This is all to do with the bid process, whether it's RFP or invitation to?
That is correct. Yes.
I'm not comfortable with the 50 because there's only one other city that is at the 50. And I would be comfortable at 30, so unless it's taken down to 30 or 35, I'm going to vote no. So thank you.
Mr. Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually agree with Councilwoman Koski. I'm comfortable at 35,000. I think that that would park us right where Macomb County is, the county that we're in, for their levels. I guess I'll start with this. Through the other process, quotations, you are essentially going online and just sourcing it through various websites to see what the cheapest price would be, through the chair to Mr. Skirta?
Yes, we can do that because it is readily accessible information.
And I see the 28 bids that would now be a quotation process, some other thing. I guess, and I read this, but it's not coming to my mind right now. On average, we receive 2 to 3 quotes for most of these products.
On average, through the formal process, if we solicit,
Sorry, through bids, I'm sorry, not quotes. 2 to 3 bids?
yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. So this will now, if I can reach out and just peruse the open market, if you will, now I can get 4, 5, 6, 10 multiple quotes and compare all of them and see if it's advantageous, rather than waiting the 2 to 3 to 4 weeks for the sealed process to play out, to only realize that I'm only getting 2 quotes. And then, once I receive those 2 quotes, or 2 bids, if you will, I now cannot go to the open market. I have to now select from one of those 2 bidders, unless we formally take those 2 bids back to you, City Council,
Throw 'em out.
and recommend rejection, which then delays the process even further.
And you're doing this process right now. You are checking our bids against the open market, are you not?
Yes, I am. And I realize I can get those prices quickly, within a day or 2 or a week, and have those vendors supply me those prices rather than waiting for the 4-week process to play out. So the efficiency is really in getting DPW the parts that they need to fix the water mains, right? Or getting the fire department the turnout gear that they need to, replace the failing stuff. So those are the things that it's like, if I know it's available and I know that it's a comparable rate to what the sealed bid process is going to produce, I want to get it quickly, because I can turn around a recommendation to you, City Council, to where you can review and see all of the backup information of the comparable prices within a week.
But you can share our concerns, right, that we're trying to be good stewards of the people's money. At the ITB, let me finish. At the ITB process is the way that the charter was set up, because they want us to bid. Now, prices have changed and times have changed. I don't disagree with that. I think there's some happy medium we can get between 50,000 and 30,000 here that will satisfy most of these bids. 'Cause I'm looking at them, and it seems like only 5 were more than $40,000. So if we can get to some happy medium, I think that would make me more comfortable. Because I like Mrs. Koski, I want to make sure that we are both guarding the public and also making your job a little bit easier, because with the way supply chains have changed and the way that the markets have changed, I think compared to 20, 30 years ago, you have a lot more information at your fingertips. You can look and quote prices across the country and probably across the world if you wanted to. And so I would hope that we could find some happy medium here, because otherwise, at 50,000, I would likely vote against this myself. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Mrs. Sarowski.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I do also agree that 50,000 is a pretty high number, and I think that it does raise some eyebrows, it would raise some eyebrows with the community as well, and we are the stewards of their money. What I use as an example is that I run a healthcare budget, a department, and I have a monthly budget of $3,000 a month. Granted, I'm a small little department, and so I think that 10 is silly, to be honest. 10 is, we do need to amend this, but I would be comfortable anywhere between the $30,000 and $40,000 range as well. I think 50 is just a little, I know that we're kind of nickel and diming this at 10 grand, 20 grand here, but in the grand scheme of things, that can go to something else And, dimes make dollars, so, small pieces that we can save in each department or each area can add up to a big number. So I am very comfortable with the process and how you do things and why you do them and the safeguards that you have. I do agree that, yes, I internet shop, I buy more of my dressing supplies off of Amazon than I do off of the McKesson because Amazon gives me a better price. So things like that, you do need to have that at your fingertips, and you're not, and I'm happy to have that happen. But as I said, I would like to see it a little bit less, a little bit, and just enough to, while we're more than doubling, we're still not quadrupling. And that's where I look at it. So nothing more, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. So let's say you're going to buy a $40,000 piece of equipment that the fire department needs, right? Or let's just say you're going to buy a $40,000 to $50,000 vehicle. It's pretty easy to figure out what a vehicle costs. So what we're talking about here, just as I understand it, is if we raise the threshold to 30 instead of 50, and we are going to buy a $40,000 vehicle, in order for you to purchase that vehicle, your office has to generate an invitation to bid. It has to publish the invitation to bid. Then when you do an invitation to bid, is it truly like, do you invite people to bid, or do you just publish it and they know where to go to find it?
Both.
Okay. So you're going to publish a notice or an invitation to bid. You're going to reach out to the vendors that you're aware of that supply this product, and you're going to say, we want you to make a bid. They have 2-3 weeks, whatever. They submit a bid. It's a sealed bid. It comes back to us. The other process is, it's a $45,000 vehicle that we want. You contact 7 or 8 dealerships or vendors or whoever, and you say, give me your best price for this, F-250. So that's not going to be $45,000, right? Give me your best price for a Chevy Equinox. And they're going to, and so you're going to call 6, 7, 8 dealerships. They're all going to give you quotes, and you're going to get those quotes. And it's that same process you outlined before. Like if this is going into the DPW or if this is going into Parks and Rec, whoever's doing it is going to do this research first. They're going to figure out what the market is. They're going to actually probably do that, Ms. Varney, like in December, we're going to want a Chevy Equinox next year. So in like November or December, they're going to start researching that. They're going to put it in a budget that we vote on. Mm-hmm. Then their department, when it comes time to buy it, they're going to go through all that rigmarole. It's going to go to purchasing. Then it's going to go, it's going to go to the manager, and then it's going to get to us eventually, and we're going to vote on it. And I don't know, guys, I kind of think I trust these people that have been doing the job successfully year after year after year. And it's not as if we're not going to get competitive pricing on these things. What I'm hearing is you might get more competitive pricing. Because if the salesman's got to go through this whole competitive, if the dealerships can say, the dealership can run you a quote in a matter of minutes. To respond to an invitation to bid, maybe they got to get their lawyers involved. Maybe they've got to get somebody else. And so it just seems like, to me, I don't see the benefit to the taxpayers by, how much money are we going to save? I would venture to guess we will save $0 over the course of the next 10 years if we raise it to 30 but not 50. We will spend additional time and administrative time, and honestly, I don't know, we might even spend more money because you're not able to get those competitive quotes just, very quickly. So I trust that this is a very deliberate process. It's a good process, and I don't see the value to the taxpayer by making the purchasing department and the various departments who are looking to purchase whatever the product or whatever the product is to jump through all those hoops. It seems to me like it's performative, and we can say, look, we're really watching out for your tax dollars, but it's, we're spending dollars to save pennies, and we might not even be saving pennies. I'm very comfortable with this. I think it's well thought out. $50,000 is reasonable to me. There's not a lot, there's not a lot between that $30,000 and $50,000 threshold probably anyway. I'm comfortable with it. I would like it to pass as presented. I'm going to be voting without an amendment. So I guess I'll entertain, I heard from at least 3 people that might want to make an amendment. I'll offer the floor to somebody else.
I move to amend the purchasing ordinance cap to $40,000.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. I think, a car is an easy target because it's so hard to get competitive bids on cars. But that's not the only thing we buy around here. We buy everything from paper clips to water pumps to asphalt. And we buy a lot of different things here. And I think that the competitive bidding process is in our charter for a reason. And I want to make sure that we are both being smart with the people's money, but also watching it. And having our purchasing cap be the second highest in the state, maybe that's right. I don't know. But I'm much more comfortable with $40,000. That's why I made the motion. So that's the way I'll be voting. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else on the motion to amend?
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Konski.
I'd also like to add that I have noticed when we're awarding different items, if it's a vendor that we have used over a period of time, we may award a contract to them for 3 years with an option to renew for another 3 years at maybe 1 year intervals. So it's not like we have to go out and find another vendor. If we have somebody that we're using and we find that it's good service, good products, we continue to use them. So I just don't buy this, that we have to go out and seek bids so much. I would support the 40, but I certainly cannot support the 50. Thank you.
Okay, council, anyone else? Can we have a roll call vote, Ms. Riska?
Mayor Taylor, are we voting on the amendment?
This is
only?
simply a vote on the amendment,
Amendment.
not on the main motion.
Mrs. Sarowski?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
No.
Mr. Yanez?
No.
Mrs. Yarko?
No.
Mrs. Kosky?
Yes.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
No.
All right, motion fails, 3-4. We have a main motion on the floor. Ms. Riska, can we please have a roll call vote?
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Yanez?
Yes.
Mrs. Yarko?
Yes.
Mrs. Kosky?
No.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Sarowski?
No.
All right, motion carries 5-2. This is an introduction. It'll be back in 2 weeks, right? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Skirta. Appreciate your presentation tonight.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up on our agenda tonight is an ordinance adoption, and this is to consider adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 20 of the City Code to adopt the 2024 International Fire Code with local amendments. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item tonight? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Sarowski.
Resolved to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 20 of the City Code to adopt the 2024 International Fire Code with local amendments.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mrs. Sarowski?
No, I do think, are we allowing the chief to give us some information on this, or should we bring him up to give us a breakdown?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, he's here.
There he is.
That's
I
what
mean, it's up to you.
Yep, through the chair, I'd like to have the chief come up and give us a breakdown of the amendments and the basics of the 2024 Fire Code, please.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Basically, the fire code is, we have the 2015 in play right now, so we're moving to the 24. A lot of technology has evolved in that time, and that's kind of why we need it, to get to that. Usually, we're always behind. This time will actually be where we need to be, and give us some wiggle room for that.
Okay, very good. And the amendments to this, are they, when it says the amendments, are they just the amendments to the?
They're all the amendments that we went over in the last session.
Did you make any
None of those
changes?
have changed.
None of those have changed?
No. they
Okay, very
haven't.
good. Okay, that's, I'm happy with his answer. That's all I have for the chief. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there's some questions I have, and I'm sorry to see that Mr. Denault isn't here, because I read even more about this, and I'm curious. Section 324 prohibits cooking in garages unless it's a habitable space. So I guess, am I understanding this correctly? Are you going to ban people from cooking in their garages in Sterling Heights? Through the chair to the chief.
Chief? Most of the time, these inhabitable spaces are already done. A lot of people will turn their garages into like outdoor kitchens, and that's where we have the kitchens that are in there. There's a permitting process through that. None of that's changing. The only thing would change is if they apply for a permit and they're keeping cars in there and everything else, then we're gonna really look at what kind of kitchen they're gonna put in there and what kind of stove they're gonna put in there. My biggest fear is they have a gas stove, and if you don't have a living space, you can have unintended cooking consequences. So we need to mitigate those risks, because I don't want to see somebody's garage burn that goes into their house, and that's the whole reason behind that ordinance.
No, I understand, and I'm wondering if that's the case, why don't we, like we do with multifamily, require the stoves to be electric with a protection timer?
That is in the ordinance, the smart burners.
Yeah.
With multifamily.
But for multifamily, not for garages. Why don't we do that for garages then?
I would love to do that, but when you cannot regulate the houses as much as I would like to with converting everybody to electric versus gas.
Well, I don't want to convert everybody, people who cook in their
You know.
garage.
The problem with the real stringent regulations in somebody's house is your kingdom and your castle and stuff like that. So we have a permitting process for kitchens and garages that have been well-established through the cultures that we have in the community. And all we're doing is we're making sure that we're not parking, cars next to these things, that we're not putting gas cans next to them, that we're going out and inspecting them. Do you have kind of a livable space there? Because the big concern is unintended cooking, is
Sure.
really what it is.
I'm okay with that. I'm looking at D103.6.1, road width. We talked about this briefly at the last meeting of new roadways constructed at the 26-foot interval. Right now, we're still shooting for the 28-foot interval. Is that correct, Chief?
The city has a process through the city engineer's office for the roads.
Right.
That's the process that I live by. The fire code says 26 feet.
Okay,
So I go by what the city engineers has developed for their standard across the city.
okay. So as it stands right now, the fire code only requires streets to be 26 feet in width.
Correct.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that. Then I have D102.1.1, the no corner touching, and I'm still trying to understand this one. What is the current fire code that we're amending? What is the rule in the current fire code that was debated nationally?
So what we're looking at doing with that, because that's a local ordinance.
No, I understand what you want to do. What is it currently if we didn't amend the code? If we just passed the normal code without this amendment, what would the rule be?
I would have to go by the Michigan Building Code, which I'm not well-versed, chapter and verse
no
for the
problem. Hold on
Michigan
one
Building
second.
Code, because that would come into play with these structures that could be closer than 10 feet. So like some of the structures that we have with the apartment complexes, when they were built, the corners actually touched. So if you have a fire on the second floor and it gets into the attic, there's not a lot of space between the attic to the next building. So there's a chance of that fire spreading real quickly.
I understand.
So that's kind of why we want a separation there. One, it allows us for better access to get around the building. It also gives that width, if that roof catches fire, that we've got some space, because when a fire happens, we not only use water and people, but we like to have space between objects. The more space we have, the less chances they're gonna be.
No, I understand that. Through the chair to Mr. Koszybski. Yep. What would the fire code be if we didn't amend it to this new standard? I guess, what is the standard that we're amending? Could they be closer than 10 feet? I assume they can. Would these buildings be allowed, and we're outlawing them only in Sterling Heights? I guess that's my question.
Mr. Koszybski.
So my understanding is that the building code would allow it to be closer, which is why we need the amendment, okay? Now.
But we don't need it. We're
Well,
asking for
let
it.
me explain the theory behind the amendment. So the the ones that you see that were presented were built in the 1970s. Nobody's built anything like this in the city of Sterling Heights since. And even in that same complex, they've separated them and allowed sidewalks through them because they realized that it was cutting off access to green space. Now, what we're proposing is to allow the fire department to have that access in between the buildings, 10 feet access, and there could be not an amendment, there could be an exception made if somebody wanted to actually build it this way in the future. What the fire department would do is send them to the Board of Code Appeals, and they would say, okay, fine, as long as you give us access points on each side of that building so they can get in and out of these buildings, you would still be able to get that amendment with an equivalency.
I understand. I guess my concern is that if they built one contiguous building, more concrete, less green space, that's allowed, because they somehow have to access all the degrees of that building. But if they are just touching, that's not allowed. And that creates less green space, that creates less trees, that creates more concrete in our community. And that's what I'm concerned about. Go ahead.
If I might respond to that. So while you would think that, if you actually move them closer together, it actually creates more green space on the lot because the buildings are closer together and the green space is more expanded. And by allowing the sidewalks in between or allowing the access between, it gives every resident the opportunity to get to the various green spaces that you're talking about in this type of configuration. Importantly, when you talk about the buildings that are touching, what would happen is the fire department would have access through every building because they're in the same U shape. In this instance, this creates a bigger hazard. Now, again, like I said, if somebody wanted to come and build it this way, nobody has in 50 years.
Sure.
But assuming somebody wanted to do it, they could come in and say, on this side, this side, this side, this side, and this side, we're gonna add a doorway and a hallway. And people, the office of the fire marshal would say, you know what? That's an equivalency. We'll take you to the Court of Appeals and you can ask for that, and that is an equivalency we would allow.
Okay. Through the chair of the fire chief, why are we adding this in Sterling Heights when other communities across our nation don't feel it's necessary?
One, as your fire chief, I want to be progressive and be out in front of all this stuff and prevent any structure fires from happening in the community. If
Well,
I
we have
could
very few
prevent-
now, so, I mean, we have.
If I could prevent none,
Well,
that would be
absolutely.
my goal, is none whatsoever.
Absolutely, I understand that, but we have very few as it is, and we have these structures currently in our community. To me, this smacks of just overreach, and so I'm going to move to amend the building code to delete D102.1.1. I move to amend, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, motion is to amend. I'll support the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend? So we're saying it's deleting, can you say the,
D102.1.1, no corner connections.
okay, any discussion on that, Mr. Radke?
Just briefly, I can understand the fire department's concerns about this, and I think those concerns can be alleviated by allowing the fire engine to get around the structure. But if a building is an L, it's allowed. If it's just touching with absence right there, it's not allowed. This just doesn't make sense to me. I think we're making it harder on builders, whereas I think that the current standard, again, why would you have to build a bigger building with more concrete to make it allowed? Whereas if you added more green space and just let the corners touch, it not be allowed. It doesn't make much sense to me. Look, it'll be what it is, but I just think that this smacks of overreach. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, counsel, anyone else? Ms. Riska, can we have a vote on the motion to amend?
Mr. Yanez?
No.
Mrs. Yarko?
No.
Mrs. Kosky?
No.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
No.
Mrs. Sarowski?
No.
Mayor Taylor?
My vote is yes to amend. Fails, 5-2.
All I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, counsel, anyone else? No further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, move on to the next item on our agenda tonight, which is the consent agenda. Is there anyone in the office who'd like to comment on any item on the consent agenda? Mrs. Kosky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
It's It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is a consideration item, and this is to consider confirmation of the city manager's appointment of Andrew Satterfield as Chief of Police for the Sterling Heights Police Department. We do have a presentation from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, there has been a vacancy in the Chief of Police position created when former Chief of Police Dale Wojciechowski was appointed the Assistant City Manager. Over the past 6 months, the city's completed a comprehensive recruitment process involving many stakeholders. And before I get into the attributes of Mr. Satterfield, I'd like to call on our HR Director, Kate Baldwin, who will take a few minutes to review the process and highlight that entire effort.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Koszewski. My office launched a broad recruitment for qualified internal and external candidates for the Chief of Police position. The recruitment yielded 2 internal candidates and 1 external candidate who were all selected to participate in an extensive day-long assessment center conducted by EMCO, a local company that specializes in candidate testing for public entities with expertise in public safety. That's not supposed to appear quite yet, but we'll get there. The assessment center was completed in February and involved candidate interviews, oral presentations, role-playing, and an in-basket exercise. Based upon the scores derived from the assessment center, the 3 candidates were ranked on a promotional list from which the city manager has the right to appoint from those top 3 candidates. Mr. Satterfield, who is our external candidate in the audience this evening with his lovely wife, achieved the highest assessment center score and accordingly is ranked first on the promotional list. Following the assessment center, the city manager and I conducted formal interviews of all 3 candidates in March, and to further assist in the evaluative process, each candidate was asked to participate in a written exercise to share their vision and ideas of what the Sterling Heights Police Department could be under their leadership. In addition to this, subsequent interviews involving select city directors also took place with all 3 candidates, as well as a series of meet and greet sessions with all 3 candidates and city council members, as you guys all know. This was a very thoughtful and prudent recruitment process, and throughout the process, Mr. Satterfield's candidacy has continued to be at the forefront of consideration. He comes with glowing references from current leaders and elected officials from the city of Troy and comes highly recommended from other public safety leaders in the region. And before Mr. Vanderpool dives into Mr. Satterfield's impressive background, I wanted to share some highlights from a few of the numerous letters of recommendations that we received for him, which is also included in the backup material. So we can pull the slides up. The first one reads, I have found that one of the most important aspects of the job is creating a network of peers from other agencies who are consistently displaying initiative and professional excellence, peers who serve with pride, passion, dignity, and respect for the communities they serve, peers who lead with high emotional intelligence and expect the same from those who they lead. I am fortunate to have Andy as one of my peers who leads the Troy Police Department with all of the above qualities. And this is from Police Chief James Gallagher from Bloomfield Township. And to preface this next quote, and Mr. Vanderpool will be touching on this momentarily, Mr. Satterfield recently retired with 20 years of service as a City of Troy volunteer firefighter, and this is in addition to his very long tenure with the City of Troy in law enforcement. Troy Fire Chief Peter Hoolinger, and I hope I said that correctly, stated, Captain Satterfield exemplifies the qualities of an outstanding firefighter, dedication, professionalism, and integrity. These values are unwavering in every aspect of his life and work. I am confident that the same qualities that have made him a leader in our fire department also defines his commitment to the Sterling Heights Police Department. This last quote, Captain Satterfield possesses a deep understanding of modern policing practices, community engagement strategies, and administrative leadership. His experience in law enforcement operations, personnel management, and policy development demonstrates his readiness to lead a department as dynamic as Sterling Heights. He is a proactive problem solver who values accountability and professionalism, ensuring that his team operates with the highest standards of excellence. And this quote comes from the Director of Public Safety, Matt Cohen, from the City of Berkeley. These quotes are a small snapshot of the outpouring of support that we've received from Mr. Satterfield. And as you can see, leaders throughout the region hold him in very high regard. Throughout our interactions with Mr. Satterfield, he has exhibited numerous attributes exemplifying that he is a standout leader. These include integrity, having a very professional and poised communication style. He's collaborative, he's an active listener, and he has the ability to inspire and develop others. The City of Sterling Heights is very fortunate for his candidacy. And now Mr. Vanderpool is going to provide some highlights of Mr. Satterfield's robust background. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Baldwin. And Mayor, I'd like to take just a few minutes to walk through the ranks and the accomplishments that Mr. Satterfield served in the city of Troy, where he served for 27 years in various ranks. First as patrol officer from 1997 to 2012. Mr. Satterfield developed a strong foundation in law enforcement with being a background investigator, a firearms instructor, defensive tactics instructor, chemical munitions instructor, SWAT team member, SWAT team sniper, part of the honor guard, evidence technician, a detective in 2 separate undercover surveillance units with the traffic safety team and mountain bike team member. As he was promoted to the rank of sergeant, Mr. Satterfield assumed a supervisory team leader role, again in the honor guard, evidence tech unit, SWAT sniper team. And as a training sergeant, Mr. Satterfield developed and managed the state-of-the-art training regimen for over 150 departmental employees with a focus on tactical and emergency response preparedness. From 2017 to 2019, Mr. Satterfield held the rank of police lieutenant. In that position, Mr. Satterfield directed the professional standards section, which handles internal affairs, police officer recruitment, hiring, training, grant writing, and emergency preparedness. Mr. Satterfield also directed firearm training facility management at the Troy Police Department Training Center and the firearms range, which Sterling Heights participates in as well. For the last 6 years, Mr. Satterfield has served as police captain, overseeing both the operations and support divisions. Operations responsibility includes supervision of the road patrol, traffic safety, commercial motor vehicle unit, which we really need to resurrect again in Sterling Heights, evidence technicians, drone team, K-9 unit, SWAT, and honor guard. Support services responsibility includes supervision of emergency dispatch, detention facility operations, evidence room records, budgeting, and accreditation. It was under Captain Satterfield's management that the Troy Police Department achieved accreditation in 2024. He also developed the alternate work schedule for police operations during the COVID-19 pandemic. He has studied multiculturalism as a tool to enhance recruitment efforts, considering declining interest in the policing profession across the country, and it's certainly something that tends to be a challenge in Sterling Heights. Mr. Satterfield's credentials include an impressive record of academic and professional achievements. As we've noted, he holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Ferris State University. He was bestowed with a master's degree in administration and leadership from Central Michigan University. He's also a proud graduate at a Northwestern University School of Police and Command. Mr. Satterfield is a recipient of 4 Chiefs Awards, 2 Community Service Awards, 4 unit citations, and numerous other recognition awards. Mr. Satterfield's community involvement is quite extensive and varied. He recently retired with 20 years, as you heard, as a volunteer fire department as well. He also established the Satterfield First Responder Scholarship Endowment and served many civic and charitable organizations in his time in Troy. including the Community Foundation, the Troy Rotary Club, Troy Youth Soccer, Enforcement Torch Run, and Special Olympics, and the Troy Fire Department Community Foundation. Mr. Satterfield is also proud of his military service as a United States Army Reservist. He's also a member of the American Legion Post 167. And Mayor and Council, as you've heard, Mr. Satterfield comes highly recommended by leaders all over the region. Ms. Baldwin touched on a few of the references, but there are many more in your backup material. I've been impressed by Mr. Satterfield's professionalism throughout the process, his collaborative spirit, enthusiasm, and desire to become part of this championship team. He's very passionate about that. Mr. Satterfield intends to become an active member of the community, which of course is a bonus. And under the adage of actions speak louder than words, unbeknownst to me, Mr. Satterfield throughout the process has been watching city council meetings, attending city events, including Dodge Park Thursdays, incognito, and interacting with Sterling Heights Police Department personnel, certainly of recent. His excitement and passion for serving the city is already evident. I'm very confident that based on Andrew's municipal experience, extensive academic background, outstanding references from colleagues, subordinates, and outside agencies, he will be a very valuable addition to our leadership team. And for all these reasons highlighted this evening, I respectfully request the mayor and city council confirm Mr. Satterfield as the city's next chief of police. And Mayor, I believe Mr. Satterfield has some comments to make, but you can determine when that would be appropriate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. First, I'll go to the audience, and Mr. Satterfield is in the audience. You do not need to speak now if you don't want to. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor.
Mrs. Sarowski.
Resolved to confirm the city manager's appointment of Andrew Satterfield as Chief of Police for the Sterling Heights Police Department in accordance with the charter of the city of Sterling Heights.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion, Mrs. Sarowski?
There has been so much going on about this. I am happy to have a resolution, happy to have Mr. Satterfield as our chief, and glad to move forward. And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Sarowski. Anyone else? Mrs. Koski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to say that I'm very impressed with Mr. Satterfield's resume and the letters of recommendation that we received. We are very fortunate to have him decide to be our next chief. So I wish you well, and I'm very happy that his wife is going to share him with us because we are going to probably put him to work immediately. So welcome, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Koski. Council, anyone else?
I guess I'll go, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Radke.
Thank you. I want to welcome Mr. Satterfield. I think he's going to be an excellent chief. This process is disappointing to me, though. I think you did a great job, and I think you're going to make a great chief. But I think a lot of the extracurricular activity exemplified by the police department behind the nomination for chief is frankly unacceptable. And I found it to be very frustrating. You know, we have a process. We try to stick to our process. We try to be fair to everyone. And I think that I wish more members of the department would have followed that process. So while I'm happy to welcome you, I think you're going to do a great job. I think, like Mrs. Koski says, your leadership is needed. And I think you're going to have your hands around it very quickly. So I look forward to supporting this. I wish you the best of luck. And I want you to be safe in this new role. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Radke. Anyone else? Mrs. Zarko.
Thank you. Now that Mr. Radke brought it up, I'm going to agree with him on some of the extracurricular activities that took place probably starting a year ago. And I'm a little disappointed in the people that I really respected. So in the future, I think it would be a good idea if we published the actual process so that residents know how it's done. And I think this would eliminate a lot of confusion, because I think some of them thought was either an election or a popularity contest. And I think that if the process that we have in place is in agreement with the police department and administration, and I think that's what needs to be followed. And Mr. Satterfield, had we known that you were here on Thursday nights, one of us would have bought you a beer, for sure.
Absolutely.
But welcome to Sterling Heights. I think you're going to do a great job. I think you have a great deputy chief that's going to help you a lot. And he's, he really is willing to work with you. And I think it's all going to go very well. So welcome to Sterling Heights. Amy, welcome to Sterling Heights, and hope to see you at a lot of our activities. Nothing further.
Thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Anyone else?
Mayor
Mrs.
Taylor,
Schmidt?
thank you. Well, first of all, welcome. But before I do that, I would like to thank our interim chief, Ken Pappas. The time you have spent as interim chief, you have done a fantastic job. We appreciate it. And I know you will be an asset to the new chief in his transition into this new position. Andy, welcome. You come highly recommended. Almost all of us up here had someone personally that could vouch for you, so to speak, either through the Troy Police Department or otherwise. Looking at your credentials, have every confidence in you and our department to join with the new chief and work well together. This is a time that we all need to step up. And I know you'll do a great job, but I do have to concur with my colleagues. The process really was unfortunate, and it's no reflection on you, Chief. It was just unfortunate, and I was disappointed, and time to move on. So with that, welcome and stay safe. Nothing further, Mayor?
All right, thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Anyone else? I think there's only one, right? Okay, first and foremost, Andy, congratulations. Welcome aboard. You are a tremendous candidate. You're highly qualified for this position. And I think all 7 of us and the administration, the team that interviewed you and conducted exhaustive checks of references and background and all of that, unanimously agrees that you're going to make a great chief. And you would have made a great chief in the city of Troy, and we're fortunate to have you here. So I want to congratulate you and congratulate you, Amy, and welcome you both to the family here, so to speak, here in Sterling Heights. We're lucky to have you, and we're grateful that you've decided to come continue your career here. And we hope that this will be your last stop, and we hope that we have a lot of years of success and continued success in our police department, because I think when you talk to our residents, we've not really had some of the issues that other communities have had in terms of, disrespect for the police department, calls for defunding the police department. I think you'll find here in the city of Sterling Heights, our residents love the police department, and they're huge supporters of the police work that goes on here. Everything that we do starts with public safety, and certainly our police department is on the front lines there, and they do a tremendous job. So welcome and congratulations. Secondly, I want to thank our interim chief Pappas. As Mrs. Schmidt said, it's been an incredible pleasure working with you. Deputy Chief Pappas, you're going to stay on board. You're going to continue to be a leader in this organization. Your voice, your leadership, and what you do for this police department matters, and I respect the hell out of it. And I thank you for your leadership, not just over these past few months, but really over your entire career here. You've been a great police officer, a great leader, and I think you've been treated unfairly, and I'll leave it at that. I don't necessarily disagree with my colleagues who talked about the process here, but frankly, I think the process was good. I think the process was thorough. It was, as I said previously, exhaustive. The process was making sure that we took a look at everything and came to the best decision possible. And so in terms of that being the process, I don't think that there was anything wrong with it. I think that what I will say is I'm very disappointed with some people who had very strong opinions, but did not have the courage to put their name behind those opinions. And whoever they are, they know it. And the unfortunate thing when that goes on is that you lose respect and it's hard to gain it back. So that's all I'll say, because this is not about that tonight. This is about the future of our police department. It's about the future of the city of Sterling Heights. And I have every confidence that we're making a great choice tonight, and our city is in good hands, our police department is in good hands, and that we're going to be moving forward successfully, continuing the legacy that this great police department has laid down over the last 50 or 60 years that we've been a city. So, Andy, congratulations, or I should say Chief Satterfield, congratulations. We're grateful to have you. So, council, without any further ado, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Chief Satterfield. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor Taylor, honorable city council members, City Manager Vanderpool, and the entire leadership team. I'm deeply honored and humbled to accept the responsibility of serving as the next chief of police for this outstanding city. This is not a position that I take lightly. It's a sacred trust between the police department and the community it serves. I'm grateful to each of you for placing that trust in me. God has truly blessed me with this opportunity. Through every challenge and every triumph in my career, I've leaned on my faith, and I will continue to do so as I lead this department into the future. To my wife, Amy, she's sacrificed a lot through my life in public safety, dealing with long hours, middle of the night calls to duty, spending holidays alone, and often worrying. She keeps me grounded and reminds me of who I am when the badge comes off, so thank you. To the men and women of Sterling Heights Police Department, past, present, and future, I'm proud to serve alongside you. This department has a long-standing tradition of professionalism, courage, and community partnership. I'll work every day to earn your trust, to lead with integrity, and to create a culture where every member of this department feels valued, respected, and equipped to serve with excellence. To our mayor, city council, and city leadership, thank you for your vision, your support, and your commitment to public safety. I pledge to work with you, each of you, to ensure that Sterling Heights remains a safe, strong, and thriving community for all. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize your city staff through this selection process. It was extremely professional and thorough, oftentimes grueling, but I appreciate that, because I know I'm joining an organization that is thoughtful, fair, and truly cares who's joining this elite team. And to the citizens we serve, I want you to know that we are here for you. We will listen, we will protect you, we will stand with you, and together we'll build on the great legacy of safety and service that Sterling Heights is known for. So thank you again for this incredible opportunity. May God bless the city of Sterling Heights and the Sterling Heights Police Department. Thank you.
Amen.
All right, well done, Chief. Thank you for those comments. All right, we will move on to the last, almost the last item on our agenda, which is communications from citizens. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? Yes, sir. Yep, come on up here to the podium.
My name is Joe Trumpeter. I've lived in the city of Sterling Heights since 1968. It was still township. I've worked with Dan Sears and Sue Kibbe and different members of the council. And right now, I'm just concerned with our park. I live on Sumter, adjacent entrance to Armdale Park. And every day for the last, I don't know how long they've been doing it, probably 6, 8, 10 years, they have a pickup truck go through our park twice a day. I just wanted to find out what they do, what authority they have. We have, I think, 26 parks in Sterling Heights. I'm not sure, but I think that's many. So apparently they go through all these parks every day, twice a day. Sometimes there's 2, sometimes 3 people in a car, in a truck, which I'm thinking, that's a lot of gas they're spending just going driving around. And what they're supposed to, I think, is just look at the garbage cans. Sometimes they go right past them. But my interest is why are these people doing this? What's the purpose of them driving through the park every day, twice a day? What are their jobs? Does anybody know what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, so we'll get you a response, but we don't really go engage in back and forth during this portion.
Okay.
Okay, so
I just wanted to find out why they're going through the park and what kind of authority they have, because, I mean, it's our money. I mean, we're all spending money for them to go through the park. And I have had called the city when trees are down, and they, just this last storm, one of the trees on the side of my house, the trees broke down. It's been there for 2 weeks. They don't come that far. They just go past the garbage cans. So I just wanted to find out something and find out what you're gonna do about it, if you're gonna do anything. It's our tax dollars going to work, and it's a lot of money for driving through 26 parks twice a day. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, our city manager will respond once everybody has a chance to talk up here,
All right.
okay?
Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Sarah Fisher, and I live in Sterling Heights, north of 14 Mile and Shaner. I just bought a condo back in January, but I've lived in Sterling Heights for about a year before that as a renter. And I wanted to bring to your attention today that I read the climate action plan that was approved, and that looked good. And one thing that's important to me is composting. And in the climate action plan, it says that composting is one of the goals to both educate citizens on composting in their own backyards, as well as to provide a drop-off center for people who don't have a backyard, people like me who live in a condo, and there's no backyard that I could go and compost in. But composting is important, and that's why it ended up in the climate action plan. We know that composting, as opposed to sending food waste to a landfill, instead of having methane produced in a landfill, you're having carbon dioxide produced in your backyard or in one center. And carbon dioxide is a less powerful greenhouse gas than methane. That's definitely something that if we're trying to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, then composting is a great option for that. So I wanted to bring your attention to that and say that as a resident, I would really like if the city put more effort onto creating that drop-off center, because there's no amount of educating residents about composting that will solve this problem for somebody like me who doesn't have a backyard. There's no education that is going to fix that problem. And 21% of Sterling Heights doesn't live in a single-family house. And that's like 28,000 people in Sterling Heights that can't just compost in their backyard. So if the city could put together some kind of drop-off center and have somebody go and like turn the piles and be in charge of that, I think that would be a really great thing, and something that I know others would really advocate for.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Ms. Chi?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carol Chi, and I live in Sterling Heights since 1981. Henry David Thoreau said, "In wildness is the preservation of the world." That means that a healthy human society and a thriving natural world are interconnected and mutually dependent. And of course, I'm here to talk about the Chinkapin Oak on Van Dyke. A few things were said by Mr. Vanderpool last week. or 2 weeks ago, I should say, and in the paper, in the Sterling Heights paper, he said that it is just a tree, but it's so much more than just a tree. It's not a tree that you have in your yard, in my yard. Some of my trees in my yard are old, but they're not that old, and they're not the same kind of tree. It's actually an important species, and the age of the tree, 264 years old, older than this country is. Yes, I know you can't stop developers from developing on private land, but this wasn't private land until Sterling Heights got ARPA funds and bought it and sold it to a developer who doesn't really have a very good record. Just down the street on Van Dyke, the apartment building that he dropped has a huge hole in the back because they had to move dirt forward, and now it's filled with water and garbage and algae and looks terrible and probably smells and has a bunch of mosquitoes coming into it and all that. The same thing will happen here because they will have to move the land forward and that by the Chinkapin when after they cut it down to put a building there. And the ARPA funds were originally gotten or told that they were going to the federal government that they were going to use them, that we were going to use them to create another park or to improve that park that's already there, that forest. I heard the word microforest mentioned earlier by, I think it was by CAP, and they said there was a little microforest somewhere. This is an actual forest, And we have so few green spaces. You even said that, let's see, you admitted in interviews that taking green space for granted over the years. When we had vast amounts of green space, it was okay if we didn't always hit it perfectly, but we don't have that now being fully built out, that Sterling Heights is fully built out. And I know I've seen it over the years since 1981, since living here. You said that to C&G newspapers on June 5th, 2023. And so we should try to make it a park, I believe. And the NVDA master plan recommends keeping it as a conservation zone, because it's the only sizable green space left in NVDA, in North Van Dyke area. After decades of extensive development for strip malls, auto repair shops, and gas stations, et cetera, and some of those that are no longer used could be converted into apartments or torn down and apartment buildings could be put there where there's already concrete and no grass and no trees and no forest. There are 14 landmark trees on this parcel we're talking about. And there's floodplains and wetlands and clear cutting that will be done, and the land will be moved forward, and there again will be a big hole in the back because they cannot bring in dirt from other areas. We talk about sustainability, climate action plan. On February 21st, the city sent out an email, and one of the little topics in there was, "Our future is green." I say, no, it's more like concrete and asphalt. It's becoming more and more every day. Green spaces, do we value them, save them, maintain them? I guess not, and we should, because of what David Thoreau said, and we should all say that. We all need some wildness around us, not just concrete and steel. Sustainability. Sustainability, we talk about that, is the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level, avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. What does that mean? Ecological means relating to or concerned with the relation of living organisms to one another, to their physical surroundings. We need more of that in Sterling Heights, not less. So I hope that we reconsider, sell that land, buy that land back, and keep it as a park. Thank you very much for listening.
All right, thank you, Mrs. G. Anyone else under communications from citizens? Now we'll close that portion, go on to reports from city administration. Mr. Vanderpool, anything you can tell Mr. Trumpeter about trucks in our parks?
Sure, Mayor, I'd be happy to. First, we do have park monitors that, as you mentioned, go around all 26 parks. In many cases, they have to open up gates at parks in the morning and close them in the evening, perhaps not at your park, but they also go through parks that do not have gates for litter control. They may have to dump garbage. They have a routine that they do have to go through. And while it may not happen directly behind your house, it happens throughout the park. If there's a branch that's on park property, I've duly noted that, we'll certainly follow up and get it removed. We'll get it removed tomorrow. It shouldn't have taken 2 weeks. But we have an extensive park system. It requires significant monitoring, and that's their job. They go around to each park every day and monitor them and take appropriate action. And Mayor, regarding composting, it is an important component of our sustainability plan. I'm hopeful that we are able to introduce in the near future a meaningful composting program in Sterling Heights beyond what we're doing at the community garden, which really is cutting edge. It's a community garden that is probably second to none in the region, and it might be an ideal location for some sort of composting operation. There are other cities, I was just in Denver, that have house-to-house composting that in you know, little containers every house gets, and you set out that composting bin every week, and the program's very successful. Now, we're in the middle of a contract. We can't change that immediately, but these are ideas that we should be thinking about in the future, and we appreciate the feedback from Mrs. Fisher. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Mr. Koszywski, anything tonight?
No closed session, Mayor.
Council, any reports, new business? Mrs. Sarowski.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. So it was mentioned today that we had done a ribbon cutting at Nelson Park. And I just want to highlight that, and I'm going to encourage the residents to go really get over to Nelson Park, because that is where our community garden is, our butterfly house where we're going to get some more butterflies, and because they got a little hot for them. And just, that park has just blossomed. With that, what we cut the ribbons for were painting of some of the features in the park. We had 2 different artists do some painting. One artist did multiple paintings. One was a planter with a type of a seating area around it. That planter is built from windmill turbines that were cut into sections, turned on their side, stacked and filled. Beautiful. And then the paintings around it were just, they're butterflies, they're flowers, they're big and beautiful and vibrant and colorful. But what a great way to reuse something that would definitely sit in a landfill. It's made of composite, not just all metal, and it is, probably would not ever go anywhere but sit in that landfill. The other garden, or excuse me, the one other thing that was painted was a swing. The central circular joining joist probably of that turbine was placed on its side, and a swing is in it. It's just cool. It's just lovely. You sit, a lot of that people in that park like to go there because it's so vast, and they like to just be there in the shade. There's shade for this, and that also was painted. We also had the children's garden that we had a planter painted with items, pictures of items by the artist, different artists for this one, that had vegetables that could be on a pizza. It's like their pizza, I think they said it was their pizza, big Detroit-style pizza, deep dish pizza toppings. They didn't have pepperoni. They can't grow pepperoni. But other than that, in that planter, they had all the different things you can have on a pizza, including oregano, cilantro, onions, you name it, peppers. Lovely. So I do encourage the residents to get out there and take advantage and look at what is happening in your parks, especially a park that was vast and didn't have as much is now really blossoming. But yes, sir, your park, we do want to make sure is well maintained as well. Parks are extremely important. You can tell people talk about them almost every time we have a meeting. We do want to continue to improve, maybe even increase our park numbers and go from there. But to your point, Mr. Vanderpool, when Ms. Fisher was talking about composting, I'm thinking, well, there's no better place than finding a way to do this, even if it's just the start small and go big, where we would have people able to drop off their compost and put it in a little composter and turn it. I mean, I know we have a beekeeper out there. We know we have people out there every day, so that might be something that we could explore. And I think we can start.
Really to do.
Yeah, and I think that's all I have tonight. It's probably enough. Thank you very much, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Sarowski. Mr. Radke.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, the one thing I wanted to address was the possibility of changing our street widths. I found out today from the fire chief that it's actually in our building code. So I was hoping that, Mr. Vanderpool, you could have Brett look at it, look at the EPA report that was sent to us, look at what other cities around us are doing, and without objection, produce a report to see if we can change, not the ones that currently exist, but moving forward. Without objection, Mr. Mayor?
Council, any objection?
No.
Hearing none.
Thank you. And I also wanted to address something that my father called me about yesterday, which is that Priority Waste did not pick up in his neighborhood. They picked up trash, but they did not pick up yard waste or recycling until noon today. And that's a frustration for my dad. It's a frustration for all the neighbors in Seville Gardens, and frankly, it's unacceptable according to our contract. I find it very frustrating. I voted against this contract, and partly for reasons like this. I thought that they would not be able to follow through. It's too long for a new company. And sadly, I think my fears, excuse me, Mr. Vanderpool, I'm speaking, thank you. Frankly, my fears have come to fruition, which is that a new company without experience is having trouble picking up the garbage. And I find it to be unacceptable. And I guess through the chair to Mr. Koszybski, how do we hold Priority responsible when they do not meet the standards set forth in our contract? Through the chair?
Mr. Koszybski.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Radke, there's several provisions that allow for fines and allow for us to, for lack of a better word, hold them to task for failing to live up to their obligations.
And we've met with Priority and we've explained that this is unacceptable?
Yes, I have.
Excellent. I hope that this will be rectified in the near future, but as it stands right now, I stand with the residents who know that their trash deserves to be picked up. It's a contract that they agreed to, and it's unacceptable. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Council, anyone else?
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Schmidt.
I just have a couple of things I'd like to mention. First of all, last week, a storm came through happened to hit my subdivision. And I have to say kudos not only to the fire department who were on scene right away because there were many downed power lines, but our DPW showed up within a half hour. They were in our neighborhood clearing streets because the trees were obstructing the streets. So to make sure that those emergency personnel could get through the subdivision. So they were really quick to show up, and actually the whole following day, they were on the street just beyond me, still cutting down trees, and DT was out there all day that following day. So kudos to them. You know, DPW, the unsung heroes of the city, really. They are part of our public safety, and a lot of times don't get mentioned with that. Second of all, I had the opportunity to participate in the Bear Cub Book Club reading at the library last week. And what a fun afternoon it was. These kids were so enthusiastic to be there on a day in the summer where they could be out playing whatever or playing video games. And they were reading to us. Mrs. Yarko and Mr. Radke were there as well. Or, no, I'm sorry, not Mr. Radke. It was Officer Reynolds was there. And they sat and they took turns reading pages out of a book, and needed very little help from my table. So it was a lot of fun. I look forward to participating in that again. And also, lastly, I had the opportunity to attend the Sterling Heights Tactical Medic class graduation. There were 9 firefighters that went through a tactical medic training that was through a national organization, along with various other departments. This is to coordinate with our police department, where typically if there is a hostage situation or an emergency situation, the fire department's kind of put on a hold outside of the perimeter. These 9 firefighters are now trained to go in with our police officers and address things that need to be addressed immediately. So it was really a cool thing to be part of. I'm proud that our 2 departments are so cohesive and work together and support each other. I'm proud of that. I think it's a great thing. And I just want to congratulate those 9 graduates for going through it sounded like pretty rigorous training. So other than that, I have nothing further, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. To my left, Mrs. Koski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was mentioned tonight about green space, so through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, can you possibly explain what our conservation plan is for green space in the future?
Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Koski, as you well know, we have made a strong commitment to conservation. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we have one of the largest nature preserves in the area, an 80-acre nature preserve up by Corwell Health. Thankfully, for the first time ever, residents will see some natural pathways and be able to actually experience that city treasure that we have. In addition, we'll be spending millions of dollars to acquire property and preserve it as open space in areas that are not development areas. North Van Dyke is a significant redevelopment area for obvious reasons for anyone who drives through North Van Dyke. It obviously needs some attention, and that's why we've gone through a comprehensive master plan for North Van Dyke, much like we have for Lakeside, to redevelop those areas, because a steady decline, it's going to continue to be problematic. But in any case, so we're preserving open space, we're acquiring land, we're extending pathways, we're building new pathways, all of which is under the banner of conservation. You've heard this evening from the Sustainability Commission all the amazing work, the award-winning work. By the way, our Sustainability Commission received an award from the state of Michigan for all the award-winning work they're doing in the spirit of conservation. And the City Council has a strong commitment in this area. We're providing universal curbside recycling. So every homeowner now has a chance to participate in curbside recycling. So our recycling in the city went from about 25% to over 90%. So these are all commitments to conservation, planting 15,000 new trees in the city of Sterling Heights, a $7.5 million commitment to reforest our neighborhoods all across the city. These are all examples of conservation. I could go on and on and on. I will mention the City Council just a few years ago strengthened our tree preservation ordinance. It's now one of the more rigorous tree preservation ordinances in the area. We didn't have a preservation ordinance prior to the council's amendment a number of years ago, just I think is approximately 5-7 years ago. And now we're reviewing additional tree preservation options in commercial areas. We'll be reporting back to City Council on that initiative pretty soon. So I'm not sure there's a conservation area that we're missing in the city, but if there is, Mrs. Fisher talked about composting. If there are areas that we need to improve on, we're all about continuous improvement. We love to hear that feedback. Thank you.
Anything else, Mrs. Koski?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, the conservation that I think we're missing is something like the nature preserve with no pathways. Green space for the animals that we repossess from their homes, a place for them to go. So I'm looking for a conservation plan for property, green space that has no pathways. So with that said, that's my request. Also, one other request, we have Sterling Fest coming up. We have some volunteers that are going to be working Sterling Fest to help us out. The CERT program and the COPS program. Some of the gentlemen have requested, and I will say the ladies also, the caps that they were promised to go with their shirts, especially if it's 80, 90 degrees out there. I think that would be greatly appreciated. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Koski. Mrs. Zarko.
Thank you. Not that I've been hanging around with Mrs. Schmidt lately, but we did do the book club together. We did go to the graduation together. And even though we're within walking distance of each other, there wasn't a leaf out of place at my house, and she's got trees down at hers. But I really want to talk about is I went to a conference for the MML because I still, as past president, can go to they consider me a member of the board. And we talked about housing, which is a big deal. We know that. And instead of us talking anymore about housing that's attainable or affordable, what we should focus on is housing for every stage of an adult person's life. And that would be somebody that maybe is getting out of high school that wants to be on their own, that they might want an affordable apartment. Somebody that's getting out of college, first job. Somebody that newlyweds that are just getting married, or somebody that's just starting a family, and then going into your senior years where you're empty nesters and you're looking for a condo and then still stay in your city. One of the biggest obstacles that we talked about was Proposal A and the bump up that people receive when they sell their house and move into another one. So as we had our discussions, we talked about what we could do as far as what the state could do to help us out. Some of it was how locally we could change zoning ordinances to make it easier for people to build. And then how do we communicate all of that information, that some of it that we want to receive, but also some of it that we want to give in order to accomplish what we need to do. So those were some of the things we talked about. One of the guest speakers, his name was Doug Song, and he did a presentation on housing economic development. And as I was listening to him, I'm texting Mr. Bonner and Mr. Vanderpool saying, do you know who he is? Because we need to bring him in. And he just so happens to be a personal friend of Mr. Bonner. So later on in the evening, I had to name drop, so I went to his table and I said, by the way, do you know Luke Bonner? And he says, well, he's one of my best friends. And I'm thinking, okay. But the first thing he said to me was, I know all about velocity. And I thought it was interesting that he was aware of the Velocity Center and what we do there. And the only thing he had to say is, I'm just a little disappointed that it didn't stay all defense. So so when we talk about, when we travel, there are people that are talking about us and what we have here in the city that sometimes we take for granted. So I think it's just a different perspective on what we should be looking for. And we know that we want the same things in life. You know, you want a roof over your head, food on the table, a job that gives you the chance to provide those for your family. So I think those are things that we need to focus on. And I think in the last 2 weeks, we've really had a lot of discussion, and we've been in a lot of different places to bring that information back here. So thank you, Mayor Terrell, and nothing further.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Going once. All right, well, I want to wish everybody a very happy 4th of July coming up this week. This is the 250th 4th of July of our country. I know it's not the 250th anniversary, but it is the 250th 4th of July for our great country. And so please have fun, be safe, get those fireworks all shot off before 11:45 p.m. on Saturday, or else you will be fined $1,000. As Mr. Vanderpool said, he'll be out there. I thank our police officers for being here today, showing support for our new police chief. I think it probably means a lot to him. It means a lot to me. I think we've got a great city, a great police department. I want to congratulate one more time our new police chief, Andy Satterfield, and his family. We really are looking forward to having you as part of our community here. And take the opportunity to get out and meet as many of our residents as you can. I think you'll see that they live up to what I said earlier, that they support our police department, love the police department, and really couldn't be prouder of the work that our police department does. So you're going to be coming into a good situation, I think, and a lot's expected of you, but you wouldn't get this job if you weren't up to it. So with that, council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.